In the headlines tonight,
the third wave of the pandemic is likely to peak.
COVID-19 cases expected to double. Wear your mask.
NGOs that have continued to operate without registering.
Over 50 NGOs indefinitely suspended.
Some teachers had left their school, so it was not easy.
Relief as Senior 6 candidates defy the pandemic, but no clear plan. While Somali refugees caught in calming Afghans to feel at home. Axed and out. Dozens of NGOs are now out of business. Good evening and welcome to CTV PM Edition. My name is Melissa Mboha and joining me on sign interpretation is Isaac Ruchamuzi. On to our top story of the night. If you thought Uganda saw its worst under COVID-19, brace for more. Scientists are predicting a third wave in Uganda is likely to peak at 4,000 cases, a figure 2 times higher than the second wave. Shamim Natebwa was at the Ministry of Health briefing and filed this report.
On July 10th, Uganda registered the peak of COVID-19 cases at 1,735, up from 1,564 in the month of June. The Health Minister General Cheng then confirmed a very aggressive transmission resulting from 5 major variants. New predictions from scientists indicate a third wave is imminent. The figures are also likely to inflate.
Projections from our scientists show that the third wave of the pandemic is likely to peak at 4,000 laboratory-confirmed cases per day. This is over 2 times higher than the second wave.
The Ministry of Health is now updating its response mechanisms, targeting arrivals at border points and the airport.
All travelers, including children, irrespective of vaccination status or country of origin, are required to arrive with a negative PCR test done 72 hours prior to travel and will be required to undergo mandatory screening and carry out a PCR test at their cost at all points of entry, including Entebbe International Airport.
The country is also welcoming about 300,000 doses of AstraZeneca from the British government under the dose-sharing agreement. 18 million doses of Sinopharm are also expected to arrive in phases.
9 million doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine from the African Union to cater for 9 million people. This is expected to begin arriving in the country next month, September 2021.
The government is now encouraging observance of standard operating procedures as the most effective response.
It is in our hands to prevent the third COVID-19 wave. We all witnessed the magnitude of the previous waves. Let us be vigilant, protect one another, and get vaccinated.
The ministry is, however, pleased with the reduction in daily confirmed cases since the easing positivity rate dropped from highest 22% to an average of 2.8% to date, while daily admissions of severe and critically ill have fallen to 50%. To date, the confirmed cases are 72,294 cases. Cumulative recoveries have been recorded at 95,217 and only 2,917 deaths have so far been recorded. Samples tested are 1,533,326. The story was compiled by Shamim Natebwa for CTV PM Edition.
54 non-government organizations will cease to operate in Uganda with immediate effect. The Ministry of Internal Affairs says the bodies are non-compliant. Let's have the details. The National Bureau for Non-Governmental Organizations, the body mandated with registering, regulating, monitoring, inspecting, coordinating, and overseeing all NGO operations in the country, announced the halting of activities of the affected NGOs on Friday morning, saying they failed to comply with the laid-down rules and regulations.
NGOs that have continued to operate without registering with the NGO Bureau, and yet the NGO Act under Section 31 requires that you must be registered with the Bureau, and also Section 29 subsection 1 requires that you should first register before you can actually operate out there.
The Bureau stated that they had established that of the 54 NGOs, 23 are operating with expired permits, 15 have failed to file annual returns and audited books of accounts, while 16 are operating without registering with the Bureau.
Their operations with immediate effect because their communications have already been sent out, and that means that once they get their communications, they should actually halt the operations immediately.
Citizens Coalition for Electoral Democracy in Uganda, CEDU, Chapter for Uganda, Ray of Hope International, Center for Conflict Resolution, as well as Youth Equality Center are some of the organizations that felt the pinch of the decision. Okello further added that CEDU has further issues other than the ones mentioned today, despite the NGO writing to the Bureau.
Wrote to us and requested 1 month, and that was up to June. That is way past June. But the reason why we're here is that I had clearly indicated that CEDU has more issues other than what we are discussing here. And actually, I think after this, you may have to access a copy of their letter so that you see more details. So it's not only restricted to the issues you're trying to point out.
To expound more on the indefinite suspension of these NGOs, today I am joined by Miriam Matembe, who is a member of the Uganda Constitution Commission that drafted the Constitution. She's also the former Ethics and Integrity Minister, and she's also the former woman MP for Mbarara. She currently is the chairperson for the Board of Directors for CEDU, which is the Citizens Coalition Electoral Democracy in Uganda. On that note, welcome to PM Edition, Madam.
I'm not even hearing what they are saying.
Good evening, Madam. Good evening, Doctor.
Are you talking to me? I can't hear clearly.
Yes, I am talking to you, Doctor.
I'm now hearing myself.
Can you hear me clearly now? Okay, to go straight to the question, you are you're the chairperson of the Board of Directors for CEDU, and CEDU is currently one of the NGOs whose operations have been halted. How do you feel about this notice?
How do I feel? I feel very bad. You cannot have an organization like CEDU, which is a wide organization of citizens in this country, just suspended indefinitely. Of course, we are not happy at all. And we saw the NGO Bureau categorized the suspended organization in 3 categories. He said one which has had permit expired, then others who have not filed annual reports, and then others who are not registered at all. Now, CEDU is listed among the 2nd category. They say that we have, and moreover using the word consistently, failed to file with them our annual reports and audited account. And according to their statement, they say 2019 to 2020. Yes, I will admit that we submitted papers, bit late, and this was because of what happened with COVID. Who doesn't know in this country that COVID-19 caused the lockdown, and the first lockdown which started 1920, then 2020, the challenges that every organization faced, I'm sure even government institutions faced, I'm sure even NGO Bureau must have had its own challenges in its operations of work. And if we had such challenges that caused our delay in submitting these annual reports as they required, I mean, it is extremely unfair and unjust to just suspend us, indefinitely.
Okay.
I tend to believe that there must be some other reasons somewhere, because even the Uganda Revenue Authority had to adjust its operations, and even the banks are also adjusting because of the challenges that they faced as institutions. Now, he said only 1 year, just 2019 to 2020, and then you suspend it because it has not submitted its annual accountability or what in time. And we talked to them about it, and they asked us to submit all these documents, and we wrote and submitted. But today we were very, very surprised to see us suspended.
Well, Dr. Miria,
but maybe one thing I would like to say,
if I could just
that could be I don't know, they know. But I'm hearing myself. They might know better, but we were not even given the accreditation to observe elections, which is our main job. So maybe these things started early, I don't know. But we intend to go to the NGO Bureau and sit with them and see what is it that they want us to correct so as to release us to work. Because suspending the work of SEDU is really is wrong, is bad, is unfair. We are doing quite a great job for the citizens in this country in advancement of democratic governance. Because as you know, our work is to promote integrity and transparency in electoral processes.
Doctor, if I may interject.
And so this is an organization that is very highly needed for advancement of democracy.
Dr. Miria, earlier on, the executive director for the NGO Bureau stated that SEDU has other underlying issues other than the ones that were mentioned today. Are you aware of these underlying issues?
I have not heard you clearly, please.
I'm sorry about that. I'm saying that earlier on, the executive director for the NGO Bureau stated that SEDU as an organization had other underlying issues other than the ones that were stated today. Are you aware of these issues?
What you need to know is that it is only today that we came to learn of this matter. We just learned it from the statement which she gave to the press. We didn't even know that they were going to hold the press and suspend us. We didn't know. And since they have suspended us and held the press to suspend us, I haven't got any official communication to tell us any other reasons. So for me, the reasons which I know now are those which I saw, like the consistent failure to submit annual reports. And this was 1920, 2020. That means 1 year. How can within 1 year you are called consistent failure? Isn't that unfair and unjust? And I understand somebody who was asking me again, the press people, said that they said that the other reason was that we shifted office. Yes, during that time of COVID lockdown and opening, we shifted we left one office and went to another. Unfortunately, we had not yet reported to them that we have shifted office. But, you know, we had challenges. Even the executive director of SEDU lost a father. Me, the chairperson, I lost a sister. You know, with these COVID things, if NGO for a bureau can really come out, I consider that, by the way, inhuman.
Doctor.
When you don't consider that this COVID traumatized
Dr.
many
Miria.
people and destabilized institutions in operation.
Dr.
Why
Miria,
is
my
it that, you know,
apologies
we
for
cannot open
interrupting.
schools, we cannot.
But lastly, the final word before I can let you go. There's the popular word from dozens of these organizations is that they
I can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Okay, you talk, I see.
The popular word from dozens of organizations is that they've been targeted. Do you feel like your organization is being targeted?
It's being what?
Targeted.
My organization is being what?
Do you feel that your organization is specifically being targeted?
Targeted?
Yes.
He said targeted. You are saying that the institution is being
The popular
being
word,
targeted.
yeah, many of the organizations out, I feel like they're being targeted. As SEDU, the organization, do you feel that you are being targeted?
Let me tell you.
Yes.
I have opportunity to go and talk with the NGO Bureau. We shall discuss, and from that discussion, I will be able to conclude as to whether this is politically engineered or not. Before I discuss with them, I am not going to clearly say, okay, this is the situation. I'm imagining that, yes, since I have told you we shifted office, we had not informed them. But that was not deliberate, that we want to hide or anything. Yes, we were late in submitting the annual report, as we were saying. But we are not denying. And therefore we are saying, but this one really did not justify indefinite suspension of our organization. So after we have had a chat with them, I intend I shall call my board, we shall sit and discuss, and then we shall meet the NGO Bureau. And when we discuss and see how things are going, we shall be able to tell whether it is politically engineered or not. But one thing which I say points to maybe that kind of thing is that we were not accredited to observe 2021 elections, which is one of the main job that SEDU exists for.
Finally, before I let you go, Doctor, how do you assess
And they
this?
didn't give us a reason.
Yes. How do you assess this action that the Bureau has taken on the democracy of the country as a whole?
You know what I want to say? I want to believe that this, since they have said indefinite suspension, I want to believe that every organization which has been suspended for one way or another, for the little, failure that they had committed, I want to believe that these organizations will look into reorganize themselves, and where they have fallen short, they will correct it. Now, if within a short period of time, these organizations have corrected what they thought was not right, and then they continue in indefinite suspension, I will certainly conclude that there is something behind it, and certainly it will have an impact on democratic governance of this country. By the way, not only democratic governance, these NGOs which they are closing, let me tell you, civil society organizations do a lot in filling the gap in service delivery and all kind of thing, human protection and so on, which the government is not doing. civil society organizations complement and supplement the work of government. I am a person who has been in civil society organization for a very long time. The FIDA, the SEDU, the whatever you want it. All these women organizations have been playing a great role in this country to advance governance and development. And it is not right to close this organization. For instance, for a small thing, even if I have violated a certain section of the law because of failure here and there, that does not mean I should be suspended. In fact, I would say if I've been doing this year after year, year after year, year after year, then you could be justified. But for instance, within 1 year, faced with COVID challenges, and you come and suspend SEDU and other organizations, I'm sure if you are to ask them, they have their reasons. It is not right, it's not good. One can start digging behind whether there is something else which is behind. But we are yet to establish.
Well, thank you, Dr. Miriam Matembe, for that insightful conversation. I will have to let you go for now, but thank you for that conversation, Madam. Well, you heard it from the doctor, that is Dr. Miriam Matembe. She is the chairperson of the board for SEDU, that is the Citizens Coalition for Electoral Democracy in Uganda. And this is one of the groups that is currently, whose operations have currently been halted in Uganda. But moving on from that, Senior 6 candidates who sought Uganda Advanced Certificate of Examinations 2020 outperformed the 2019 candidates. This comes amidst fears of a pandemic-hit education period. During the release, Minister for Education, Janet Kataha, committed to vaccination before reopening. Let's have the details.
And here,
during the release, the Uganda National Examinations Board Executive Secretary Daniel Odong noted 2020 performance outmatched previous year.
An analysis of the overall candidates' performance in the examination shows that a very high percentage of our candidates, 99.2, qualified for the award of the Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education certificate, more than the 98.6 in the previous year, 2019.
The female candidates outperformed male counterparts.
The percentage passes at the upper levels of 3 principals and 2 principals are higher than those of the males.
The Ministry of Education is upheld by a decline in interest in sciences, particularly for girls.
We must encourage and support girls to do sciences. It should start in our homes and our societies. It should start from the family.
The return to school is benchmarked on vaccination.
I urge our teachers to do this for yourselves, for the children that you teach, and for your families also. The sooner we get many of you vaccinated, the sooner we will reopen our education institutions of learning.
With expected reopening amidst financial strain, the ministry is cautious on managing fees. The pandemic also recorded raising cases of misconduct due to the relaxing on diligence. Dozen cases of candidates conceiving manifested during Senior 4 exams. A similar outcome displayed for Senior 6. Ministry advises sharing of responsibility.
To my fellow parents and guardians, we cannot fail to play our part of nurturing our children and then blame it on government for the outcomes. Nurturing children in the home is a responsibility of the parents and guardians, not the state.
According to the ministry, in 2020, no candidates were registered at Luzira prisons, unlike previous years. Flavia Ninkuze, CTV, PM Edition.
Considering the pandemic, it was not the highly billed expectation for the Senior 6 candidates, but the outcome has been one of hope. We share the reactions from students now eyeing their next career course.
Earlier today, the Uganda National Examinations Board released the 2020 Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education results. Students from different schools flocked to various campuses to see how they performed. Teachers today used scientific methods to show the students their results. Schools like Janan and Lubidi High School had their students anxiously waiting for the results. Students told CTV that they did their final exams through tough times, like not finishing syllabus and the absence of the teachers due to the lockdown.
It was not easy, and after the ease of the lockdown, we came back. Some teachers had left the school, so it was not easy, though they brought new teachers, but that challenged us somehow, somewhere.
The government didn't send for us the learning materials as A-level, but we managed, though it was a little bit hard because the online classes were a little bit challenging, but after when we came back, we decided to sit down. I thank so much our teachers.
I'm going to take the course of civil engineering at Kyambogo University according to the points I got, but I will advise my fellow students and my fellow brothers and sisters who are at home during this COVID period to come upon and go back to school, leave alone those petty jobs you are doing.
To avoid other challenges which will come out, we are asking the government to come out with clear policy, with clear arrangements to see that they can open up the schools, because many parents cannot manage to get the gadgets which are being used for Zoom lessons.
Others told us that they had challenges in accessing online lessons.
Many challenges to me that we never covered the full topics, all of them, that's why, and they are the topics which came in exams, so that's the challenge which we faced.
Excited for the points I've got, and I'm looking up to pursuing law. Watch out for those rapists. I'm going to do law. And for those who are still home, keep reading, because we also read at home and we have passed.
So we are very grateful, because amidst this pandemic, we wouldn't believe that we would perform well as the way it has been.
A few days ago, government announced that schools will resume when the majority of the teachers are vaccinated. In Luzira Prison, 27 prisoners sat for the Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education, and they all qualified to join institutions of higher learning. The best candidate in prison was Ambrose Agwang, who scored 14 points. He was convicted of minor robbery.
The best candidate got C, A, D, and a credit in general paper, making it 14 points. His name's Ogwang Ambrose, and is a convict on the case of simple robbery.
The Form 6 students are the third bunch of students to receive their results after the Primary 7 and Form 4 students. Story compiled by Chris Semalimu Semakula for CTV, PM Edition.
Congratulations to the Senior 6 students. It truly is inspirational to see them having succeeded so highly during the COVID-19 pandemic. But moving on, today, during the release of the USCE results, the Education Minister made a call for students to partake into skills initiatives to enrich their capacity. Now some already heed to the view. Lucky Bingira speaks to the outgoing Senior 6 student and has this report. Violet Namanya welcomes me with a glass of juice. It's her way to welcome company here, only that I'm not a customer. The 18-year-old Senior 6 student was clocking to her final exams before an idea struck.
Considering the effects of COVID, I thought of it, the holiday is going to be that long, like the vacation is going to be long. Now I was like, since I had a little capital, and I'm like, I can start up something that will help me. Like, I wouldn't go to my mom and I'm like, I need money for pads, I need money for airtime. I would make the money myself out of the little savings I'd made from school.
Today, the Education Ministry released results, pent-up emotions filling their expectations. She is no exception.
We didn't cover a lot of things. Or if we covered it, we didn't tackle inside. We ended on top. So I'm anxious because things were not easy.
The roadmap on school return is still unclear. Government has committed to vaccination of teachers and students before releasing students into the education world. Namanya, however, has clarity on her situation.
Considering the profits I'm making out of this business, I will employ someone to come and help me out as I balance my studies. I know I will make it because I believe in myself. I know I'm determined and I'm focused. I can read my books as well as leave my business running.
Her cafe at Gogonya in Zambia is now a constant visit for customers. Raw, organic, it's a taste accustomed to many now. For Namanya, the principle is clear.
I wouldn't want to be that person, that young youth who wakes up in the morning and I have no idea of what I want to become, or I have no important roles to play around home, because the money I make from here, I support my home as well.
She challenges her peers.
There are many youth there who have a lot of talent and they're sitting on it. Let them stand up and explore. The world is all about bringing yourself out.
That's why I try to encourage our young people also to consider other areas of training which may be easy for employment for themselves and for others.
As she ventures into higher institution of learning, when government so wishes, it will be with a sense of I am tested before introduced to new skills. This report was compiled by Lucky Bingira and voiced by Melissa Mboha for CTV PM Edition. You are still watching PM Edition with me, Melissa Mboha, and Isaac Ruchamuzi on sign interpretation. We are going on a short break, but remember, don't blink. Welcome back to PM Edition with me, Melissa Mboha. Moving on, incoming Afghans should be excited to find a safe haven. That is the message Somali refugees are sending to the evacuees. In recent years, a growing number of Somalis seeking refuge have settled in Gazette areas and communities in the capital Kampala or in the settlement camps.
Over the years, Uganda has gained recognition and respect internationally for its policy towards refugees. Some of the refugees who have found their way to Uganda are from Somalia in the Horn of Africa. Many of these refugees from Somalia moved to Uganda in the 1990s at the peak of the civil war in Somalia, settling in the parts of the Kaptu, Kampala, and Nachi Valley refugee settlement, located in the southwestern part of the country. But apart from the ordinary refugee, Uganda also has Somali immigrants who have been here since the colonial times. The Somali nationals living in Uganda also have a catchphrase or a word to define their peers who don't know or understand the culture. They often refer to themselves as Sijui, a Swahili word to literally mean I don't know. Mohumbo Ahmed Eli is now in 30s and says she left Somalia when she was just a toddler and has no recollection of her land of origin. She says she first stayed in a neighboring Kenya with her parents before finally moving to Uganda. As a single mother of 4 children, she says life has not been a walk in the park for her.
I do small business, especially like I sell small clothes to the other Somalis. Then when the month ends, and I get very little money from that clothes, then I sell off within the limit of the need.
Like some of her peers, she now survives on a small business she started. We found her hawking clothes to her fellow ladies.
Chiseni is one of the vibrant business community for Somalis. And being refugees, they have to make a living to survive. And one of the businesses they venture in is tuk-tuk businesses.
On the issue of government giving a green light to the coming of Afghan refugees to Uganda, the chairman of the Somali community in Uganda, Hussein Abid, has this to say.
They forget
We were once here, Ugandans were refugees during Amin's time. When Tanzania attacked us, we all ran to Kenya. Some were taken to Kakamega camp. But we people who had their friends in Nairobi went to stay in Nairobi. So being a refugee is not what you want. That things come automatically through government.
The chairman also has an opinion about the memes and jokes about the Afghan refugees that have been making rounds on social media.
I'm very sorry to say this. Yesterday, I was seeing in Facebook, saying, "Hey, Baze, tuja kuwawasa." That's very bad, my dear. That's very bad. These people have come with their own problems.
In areas of Mengo, Bakuli, Chisenyi and Lubiri, Somali nationals have gone to create a vibrant business community with malls, restaurants, shops, arcades, forex bureaus and tuk-tuks for transport, making the place look like a small city within a city. This man owns a gadget shop in Chisenyi. He tells us how it feels to be a refugee in Uganda.
I feel like I am just like any other Ugandan citizen. The only problem is that I cannot apply for a national ID.
According to Uganda's Office of the Prime Minister, the number of registered Somali refugees in the country increased to 41,515. Eve Masawi, CTV, PM Edition.
Decorated UPDF General Pecos Kutesa passed on Tuesday. The cause of his death was until today undisclosed, but now it has been confirmed the fallen army chief succumbed to liver failure on Tuesday in New Delhi, India. His body was received today at Entebbe International Airport. Let's have the details.
The body of the fallen former Bush War veteran Lieutenant General Pecos Kutesa arrived at Entebbe International Airport at 1:30 p.m. aboard the Emirates aircraft. On board was his wife Dora Kutesa and other family members. It was a somber mood for the family, friends and army chiefs who had gathered to receive their own. The generals in presence honored their fallen counterpart as they escorted the body to a waiting ambulance. The widow also revealed that the burial arrangements by the family have already been arranged. The army chiefs, led by Lieutenant General James Mugira, who represented the Chief of Defense Forces, say the army have lost an icon, a teacher and an inspirational figure.
General Pecos was really an icon of the liberation struggles in this country. His name is synonymous with the liberation struggles of this country. You cannot talk about liberation in this country without mentioning the name of Pecos Kutesa.
General Pecos was a very brave cadre. He was a very brave person. He fought a number of wars. He was very brave. General Pecos was a very royal cadre of the struggle and the institution.
Kutesa, who once served as a member of parliament, was supposed to be honored on the floor of parliament, but the session will be held on Tuesday next week.
The Deputy Speaker of Parliament has allowed to give a special session on Tuesday in tribute to the late fallen general.
The army this morning communicated the planned arrangements for the general's send-off.
According to the program, tonight the body will remain in the hospital. It will be brought to his house in Buziga tomorrow at 8. At 10:00 hours, we shall have a service to celebrate and to thank God for his life. At exactly 1400 hours, if there are no changes, the body will set off for Kabula, Liantonde, where we shall have the burial on Sunday.
Kutesa is also remembered for his war encounter in 1976 when he joined the Fronasa forces that were fighting then-President Idi Amin Dada. He has died days after he retired from the army.
Our condolences go to the family of General Pecos Kutesa. Now, there is likely to be an improved presence of LDUs in your village because UPDF is recruiting an additional 10,000 local defense force unit.
A spike in crime and killings in the areas of Entebbe and Wakiso between 2016 to 2017, the president ordered for the recruitment of 24,000 LDUs who were to be trained by the Uganda People's Defense Forces to beef up security. The first group of recruits constituted of more than 6,000 LDUs who were deployed in Kampala metropolitan area. Another group had 12,000 LDUs who were deployed in, among other areas of Masaka, Mityana, Jinja, Mbale Soroti and Luwero. And now the army wants to add another 10,000 LDU recruits.
The exercise is in line with the constitutional mandate of the Ministry of Defense and the UPDF, which is to preserve and defend the territorial integrity of Uganda. And in this, of course, we do work with auxiliary forces.
The recruitment process will take place between the 23rd of August to 16th of September. UPDF Deputy Spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Ronald Kakurungu today gave a stern warning against fraudsters looking to take advantage of the exercise.
We warn any people who may think that they can fraudulently join the forces that once found out, even if you have already been recruited, you will be removed and prosecuted according to the laws of the country.
LDUs have been on the spotlight for their brutality, especially during the first lockdown in March 2020. Although a bitter taste is still in the minds of Ugandans, some have embraced them and feel there is need to recruit more.
Because when you look at the numbers which they have, it's not enough. They can't cover the whole Uganda, so we need them.
Others say the system of recruitment also needs to change.
Times have changed, and as a country we are moving towards professionalization, and the army now is being professional. So it means we need to first of all go back and ask ourselves if really we should continue with the same qualification.
For now, the LDU matter is one that continues to raise eyebrows and mixed reactions. Bernadette Apio for CTV, PM Edition.
The parish model has been endorsed. Members of Parliament from the NRM party have unanimously agreed to pass an annual budget of up to 1 trillion shillings to finance its operations. The program attempts to spread income-generating activities to the grassroots.
The caucus meeting started shortly after the arrival of the president, who also doubles as the NRM party chairperson. President Museveni was not shy from his request of giving 100 million shillings per parish in the proposed parish model.
Because if we put 100 million per parish per year, in 5 years, we shall be talking of 500 million in the parish circle, government contribution, and revolving. And then we encourage them also to put their own money, to save, to add on. You will be building now parish-based banks for these people.
The president says this will curb the bottlenecks experienced in projects like Entandikwa, Youth Livelihood, NADS, among others.
They are the ones who, they are the ones who decide for themselves. It is no longer the leaders, the government people, no, it is themselves.
As it has always been the case, not a single member of NRM rejected the president's request.
Those against? Your Excellency, it's a unanimous decision.
The project will be spearheaded by a 7-man committee headed by the parish chief, with each of the 7 members taking home a monthly stipend of 10,000, except a parish chief who will be pocketing shillings 456,000. The model will see to it that households benefit directly from government funds, unlike other programs where funds are controlled by government officials.
You hear complaints, bega biraboka, The leaders only give themselves. They give their relatives. The selection is not fair. You hear all those stories.
Members of Parliament are tired of doing post-mortem on most of the government programs. Every time we are sent when programs have failed. We need to structure M&E in all the operations of government such that they can guide before we lose the track of the projects.
Having already passed the 2021-2022 budget, the State Minister for Planning, Honorable Amos Lugolobi, says they are now faced with the challenge of raising these funds without borrowing.
We have no choice but to make sure that we fund this money in the budget. The challenge is that it's difficult to say that we can borrow now because we have borrowed and borrowed. So it looks like under the challenge we have now, we cannot borrow anymore. So we have to look within our priorities to find this money to finance this program of the parish development model.
Projects like Entandikwa, Operation Wealth Creation, NADS, among others, have all been here to chase poverty out of the country. The question of whether the parish model will be working out can only be answered in time. Ramson Mhire, PM Edition.
At CTV, we take it upon ourselves to keep you informed on what is going on in the regional and international scene. Evacuees from Afghanistan is a momentum that keeps on building. Today, Australia is reinforcing a rescue of her own. The details.
The first rescue flight from Afghanistan to Australia has touched down in Perth with families aboard the chartered plane which departed from Al Minhad Air Base in the United Arab Emirates. Among the evacuees are Afghan interpreters and contractors who assisted Australian troops, customs and immigration personnel, and consular and foreign service officers. They will spend 2 weeks in quarantine at a hotel before being released into the community.